Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I thought I would take this time to actually try to answer some questions to a couple of subscribers that commented on a couple of last videos, I don't know, from 10 or 12 days ago. One of the questions is from the Exigent Defense back pressure video, and one I believe is from the alley cat and white bread comparison. And there was some other questions in there too. And what I hope to do is to go a little more in depth and attempt to answer some questions about what people are asking, you know, was going to be the best option for particular setups or for their use case. So before we get started there, guys, first let me say thank you to everybody. The last couple of videos, I mean, for me, the first day they did extremely well. And I appreciate all the comments. Got a lot of good comments. People just showing support, saying hello. People sharing their experiences. I really appreciate that. The more we can do that, the better. That's just more information, you know, for if you believe it, if it's been helpful for you, I can almost guarantee it will be helpful for somebody else. Okay, so there was I tried answering all the comments. I tried my best, and if I didn't get to you, I mean, I apologize. And I went ahead and answered some of the questions, and I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, this would make a good video to where we can actually break these things down and actually talk about, you know, the different opinions for use case, because the truth of it is, guys, there is no perfect silencer, or at least I haven't found it yet. Okay, now my experience has shown me that there are a lot of, you know, mid-level silencers on the market. There are fewer good ones, and there are even fewer than that excellent ones. So if you listen to people talk, though, everything that gets reviewed for the most part, you know, gets hyped up, whether it deserves that hype or not. That's just the industry, and that's how things work. And I will digress on that. So before we get into the questions, guys, I first want to give a little backstory so you understand, like, a foundation here of my methodology and how I think about these things. When it comes to suppressed shooting, for years, okay, first let's go, before we talk about suppressed shooting, let's talk about what are the pros and cons. Okay, so the pros are obvious. It's going to be suppression of the signature of the gun, whether that's sound, flash, blast mitigation. Okay, so those are our pros. Now, what are the cons? Well, the cons, the most obvious one's going to be length, weight, back pressure, as far as how that back pressure affects the host, and heat. The heat is like a double-edged sword, because not only are you adding more wear and tear to your gun, you're also, you know, you have something on the end of the gun now you have to be aware of, because, you know, it definitely gets hot enough to where it can cause a problem. So those are our cons. And with older style suppressors, say like a Surefire RC2, man, there was just so much back pressure. No matter what you put it on, you did the best you could with it. But unless you actually needed the capabilities of what the silencer afforded you, which would be, you know, suppressing the flash and the sound, then the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze, so to speak, to shoot suppressed all the time, just for the sake of shooting suppressed, to protect your hearing. It was always, like I said, a silencer gave you a certain capability. If you needed that capability, at that time it was worth the consequence of the cons that came along with the silencer, you know, to use it. So things really didn't start getting interesting until, I guess it was OSS or Hux. You know, I believe they were the first that started talking about, you know, high flow, or introducing a low back pressure option. And if we go back, you know, to when a few years ago when they got started, it was a lot of people, you know, kind of made fun of it, I guess, ridiculed and said, you know, this is never going to work. And now you look Everybody is trying to make their own version of a low back pressure silencer. Okay, so with that being said, guys, I'm not one of the people that believe that we should shoot every round suppressed. If that's your take on it, hey man, that's great. I'm sharing this with you so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I believe we use a silencer when we need the capability. Okay, now talking about the pros and the cons to a traditional, style baffled can. What are the pros and how does the pros and the cons change now when we go to a low back pressure option? Okay, well, we still have the pros are going to be the same as a reduction of signature for splash, sound, and blast mitigation. But now when we go to the cons, okay, what once was a double con is now the back pressure or the reduction thereof. Now that becomes a pro, and because of the reduced back pressure or the can's ability, to exhaust gas at a high rate, it also has an effect on the gun as far as how it behaves during recoil. All of the low back pressure silencers that I have tested or shot, all of them affect the gun in a positive way in the manner of like reducing recoil, okay, or neutralizing recoil to a degree. Okay. All of them have that effect, but there are some that are superior to others. Like there's some that have more of that effect, if that makes sense. Okay, so now what back pressure used to be a con, it changed the way the gun behaved. It tore your gun up because it overran the bolt. It was hard on the parts, and then you have the maintenance issue as well. Like shooting unsuppressed, you can go thousands of rounds, lubing up every several hundred rounds, just lubing up. You can go thousands of rounds before you have to give a major cleaning to an AR. When you shoot suppressed, it's like credit card debt. It grows exponentially, and the low back pressure silencers, make it a little bit better, but it's still, as far as the maintenance side of things, you're going to have to do more maintenancing if you shoot suppressed. Okay. Also, going on the con of the heat. Heat is what destroys our barrels. So when you're thinking about in a training sense, if like unsuppressed, and you can shoot 4 or 5, maybe even 6 magazines before the gun gets so warm that you want to set it down and pick up a second gun that you have, or set it down, let it cool as you're stuffing mags, whatever. When you're shooting suppressed, it gets hotter much quicker. So that is just something to think about too that I failed to mention a while ago. Let me make sure. Okay. Also, it's important when we're looking at the pros and the cons to understand. Okay, and I hope I'm explaining this correctly without confusing you. But anytime we decide to pick a specific, tool or method, there is always going to be pros and cons to that. Okay, so we need to understand the subject matter in a way that we understand whether those pros are going to be beneficial enough that it's worth taking on those cons. Okay, so I think also another important question we need to ask ourselves as the consumer is, what are our needs? Okay, and for most of us, like as a civilian, when it comes to silencers, I guess maybe some hunting, other than training at night, under night vision. But far as needs, we really don't need. So then, if we don't have any needs, what are our wants? Okay, so are you buying this? Are you going to put it to work? What I mean, are you truly on the path of developing your hard skills and becoming the best shooter that you can possibly become, and this is just a tool? Or are you purchasing this, to put it on, your nice AR that you're never really going to shoot? You're going to take this out every once in a while. You're going to shoot a few rounds, for the fellas, and you want to impress them you know, and you want them to say, hey man, this guy's got the quietest can. Okay, so there's two different avenues here, guys. And I'm not saying that to be, you know, to be a smart aleck. I mean, I really mean that. There's people that do that, so we need to be honest with ourselves. So I said all that to build the stage for. I do not believe that we can have our cake and eat it too when it comes to silencers. I do believe that we have some options that get us very, very close, at least for my use case, and you know what I'm looking for out of a silencer. But none of them have got us there yet. And what I mean by that, if we optimize sound and flash, as far as the people that are building the silencers, that's their technology, and they optimize sound and flash. Now, with their technology, they can build in reduced back pressure, where it's definitely reducing a lot of back pressure. But I have not seen one of like the high performing 556 cans, you know, that sound amazing, like the Fireteam 556 or the Dillon 556. Those are the only two options I have in hand. But both of them sound amazing, but both of them are not low back pressure silencers, and not even close. Okay. Now the difference between the Fireteam 556 and the Dillon is the Dillon, when you assess it on single shot back pressure, it shows to be better than the Fireteam, but the shooting experience exposes that to be false. And that's something we'll talk about too, guys, like assessing back pressure. There's way more to, you know, how a silencer vents or exhausts its back pressure, other than just what it shows on a single shot. Like that is a way to assess a single shot, but that does not tell you at all how it's going to behave when you shoot, you know, a longer string of fire aggressively and really stack and see if it like stacks the gases, or if it's able to vent them at that rate. And because what will happen something that can be considered low back pressure is when you shoot it aggressively and the silencer is not able to vent all that gas that is being placed up in it. And then, you know, gas stacking happens, and then your low back pressure silencer now becomes a high back pressure silencer. I mean, that's basically what happens. So understand that the one shot test is not the end all be all. It does give us, you know, it does give us some information, but there's more to it than that. Okay. And then that's what I'm going to say about the Fireteam. The Dillon 556, guys, again, my opinion, and I bought that listening to a gentleman on YouTube, and I knew better. You know, I know better than this, and I still fell for it. A gentleman that had was pretty early on in his channel, and he described it as having back pressure similar to the white bread, just a little bit more than the white bread. That's what he said. Okay, that has not been my experience, but anyway, I will digress. Whereas the Dillon, like it gets like a lot of back pressure, like shooting and hitting you in the face, like after 3 or 4 rounds of a longer string of fire. Where the Fireteam, I've really been impressed with its capability, even though, you know, I consider it a silencer that's, you know, has moderate back pressure. Its ability to sustain that moderate back pressure through longer strings of fire is really impressive to me. Okay, so but that's just what I've seen, the silencers that perform the best, far as spectator listening to it, not shooter. We'll talk about that a little more. But as you know, you have spectators that are listening, and they say, okay, well, yeah, that one sounds better. That one sounds better. Okay, that's one aspect. That's one aspect of spectator listening. Excuse me. Okay, something else that we need to look at that I think gets overlooked a lot, and they like to sensationalize, you know, the sound, right? Because that gets people excited, and we just think the quietest one is a silencer, so the quietest one is the best one. Okay, and I don't agree with that, and I think it totally depends on your use case and what you're looking for, you know, out of your equipment, is what, you know, what's going to be the best choice for you. But it's not always the quietest one in my experience. what has been my experience is the silencer that most people across everybody, I would say everybody that I have received an opinion from that is a shooter that I would say has the ability to perceive what's going on during the shot, meaning they understand what right looks like and feels like. Okay. Everybody's opinion that I have taken that is, like I say, a competent shooter has gravitated or picked the shooting experience over which silencer sounded the best as a spectator. Okay? And so that has really spoken loud to me as well. It's like, you know, you'll have people, like I've got my guys that I shoot with, I always, you know, get feedback from them. And then I'll find volunteers at the range. You know, I'll see somebody shooting and I'll go grab them and ask them if, you know, if they'll be willing to give me their opinion. And what I will say, you have several platforms setting out, and it's going to be an apples to apples comparison in the sense, excuse me, that if you have like a higher back pressure can, like a fire team, whatever gun it's on, it's going to be tuned to be optimized for shooting with that can. Okay, so the comparison is fair. And then you have something like the Alley Cat, okay? And you have people shoot. First, you have them listen to them, and they give you their you know, opinion on which ones sound the best. Out of the two I just told you, I've only had one person pick the Alley Cat. Everybody else, which I agree hands down, is the Action Defense is quieter than the Alley Cat, most definitely. But then you let them shoot it, and now this is everybody that I take their opinion and say it means something. Guys, if you do not know what right looks like or feels like, I'm not being mean. Your opinion really is irrelevant, okay? Because you cannot break down the information and like explain what's actually going on. You can't perceive that, and you can't like download it and then like in a video recording repeat that. So with that being said, everybody, and this sounds very shilly, but everybody that I've had that has shot the Alley Cat on whatever I had it on, compared to whatever other setup was out there with them, everybody that I've had, like I said, that are competent shooters, have said that the Alley Cat was their favorite. Like the shooting experience of the Alley Cat sold them. And again, guys, I know that sounds like, but just to tell you, I have no affiliation with these companies at all. When it comes to Spectre Cat, I tried to get them to exchange some T-shirts for me, and all I got was a short email saying no, we can't do that. And so my opinion is coming from actually using these items, and this is, whether my opinion's correct or not, this is my opinion off of actually using these silencers. That's what I kind of wanted to say at the first of the video, and I forgot. If people understood, like a 30-minute video, how much work it takes to get set up, to get all the equipment you need at the range, all the tools, everything you need to make sure you have everything. It's like a lot of work. And I'm not saying that because I'm griping. I do it because I want to. But what I am saying, guys, is I've got to have a motive. Okay, I would not get on this camera because that is absolutely uncomfortable, and I wouldn't, buy a bunch of silencers I really don't need, and I wouldn't shoot up a bunch of my own ammo in order to get data so I can have an opinion about these. Like very little gets recorded of the shooting that goes on, but man, I have invested thousands of my own rounds, so I can, have an opinion. And then I think if we're gonna like have an opinion about these things, it only makes sense to like try to share that to help people, with their decisions. All right, guys, now let's get on with the subject of the video. I'm sorry, I get sidetracked. There's a lot of information, and I start, chasing squirrels, what have you. So I'll do my best not to do that again. But the first question came in, and the gentleman asked, he's got a new Daniel Defense 10.3, and he wanted to know between the B&T Print XH and between the Fireteam 556, what's going to be the best silencer for him to give him the best overall experience, was the way he worded it. He didn't say that, you know, sound was the most important. He said overall experience. Okay, again, this is my opinion, and you can take that and 50 cents and get nothing. But my advice to you would be, if you have the out-of-the-box 10.3, you have no means of adjusting gas on it. So the only means of adjustment you have is going to be buffer and spring. If you truly care about the shooting experience, out of those two, I would go with the Print XH. Okay, it's going to afford you on a open gas gun like that. The Print XH is low back pressure, like truly low back pressure. It's a little long, okay, but it is lightweight, and it actually has a real good tone. Far as like whatever barrel length I put it on, there is no pain to the ear. So it actually does a decent job on suppressing sound. Now flash, although B&T, when they came out with the Print XH, they guaranteed no sparking. I mean, that was their words, not mine. Okay, well, that's not the case. You do get a little bit of sparking. Now, it's nothing that's going to interfere, you know, with you using it at night or whatever. It's not a problem, but there is a little bit of sparking. But because of the overall shooting experience you're going to get, now the Fireteam is going to afford you better sound and flash suppression, hands down. Okay, but the shooting experience, especially if you have, you know, a gun with the open gas system on it, a 10.3 at that, and the shooting experience is what you're concerned with. That's the reason I picked the Print XH. Now, if you plan on, you know, setting that gun up to where it is, where you can control the gas on it, now that's a different subject. Now that's going to come down to what are your needs and what are your wants. But hands down, for the shooting experience on an out-of-the-box 10.3, the Print XH is going to give you the best experience. Okay, and that's just my opinion. All right, and the second question that I want to answer, and several people kind of had a similar question, and it was like, okay, if you was picking, like naming out, you know, what's important to them, like number 1, back pressure, number 2, flash, and number 3, I think, was tone or sound, but sound was not the most important to them. Okay, and the 3 that they asked me to pick between was the Fireteam, the Silencer Covelos, and the Alley Cat 556. Okay, guys, hands down, out of those 3, and that's exactly what you're getting. You're getting low back pressure, you're getting good flash reduction with it, and you're getting good sound reduction for the capabilities of how low back pressure it is the AC, the Alley Cat 556. And that's going to be merely 2 for the shooting experience of it. The Alley Cat, like I said earlier, all your low back pressure silencers, man, they have like a positive effect when it comes to how the gun behaves during recoil. But the Alley Cat is just, it's at the end and the bellows, and like the Hux K, they're all, I think the Alley Cat edges them out. You know, that's subjective, and that's my opinion. But you know, that's what I'm going to claim anyway. So make sure I got everything. Real quick too, guys. I kind of wanted to talk about. I kind of like to just put good information out there and let you make up your mind off the information. But this video here is more of my opinion. My favorite 556 silencer is hands down the Alley Cat 556. And I'll be shocked. I'm curious to see, you know, the new technology they have coming out, the Super Thug. I think they're going to have a hard time topping the performance of the AC 556 and the AC 762. I'm not a proponent of somebody that buys one can to kind of fill several roles. But in the case with the AC 762, it is actually one that this sounds better on 556 than the 556 does. It's better on flash and it's lower back pressure. Now you have more weight and you have more length. Okay, but if you're looking for a silencer like you can shoot on 556, 300 blackout, 762 by 39, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, what have you. This is actually a great option for somebody that is looking, to get kind of one can. It won't rule them all because you can't shoot everything through it, but you can shoot, your 5.56 gas guns and 300 blackouts and what have you. So again, guys, that's my opinion. We talked earlier about having your cake and eating it too. And I believe we have not gotten there yet. We keep hoping and keep looking for that can to show up. I honestly don't know if it's going to be possible just simply, for the physics of it. But we hope. But right now, as far as my opinion, the closest thing that we have to that is going to be the AC 556 or the AC 7.62. And guys, it's just the overall shooting experience with them. Like the sound is phenomenal, for what you get in the amount of low back pressure or the reduction of it. It actually does an amazing job at reducing flash. The blast mitigation is I don't know, it's unrivaled, I believe. And also longer strings of fire, man. They vent, and you cannot choke them down. They keep venting, and they keep doing their job. Okay, so see, I guess I've rambled on long enough here, guys. I know I had a lot more I wanted to talk about. I hope I answered your questions. Did the best I could. So remember, guys, like, subscribe. If this content is valuable to you, by all means, please, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know on y'all's opinion on this, guys. What is your opinion? What is the most important aspect to you? Is it sound? Is it back pressure? Is it flash? Or is it the shooting experience as the shooter? Okay, because that is what I have seen to be the most important. All right. Until next time, guys, remember, love your enemies, but keep your guns oiled.